Hello and welcome to the video. Today I'm painting up Deadpool from Marvel Crisis Protocol. Now I'm a big fan of Deadpool, so this was a really fun miniature to paint up. I was really looking forward to getting him done. I really enjoyed the silly pose that they have him on, like riding a rocket. I thought that was really fun, and they have the comic book whoosh underneath. So this is going to be a really good one, and I hope that you're looking forward to watching me paint him up. After getting him assembled, I primed him all gray. And I have to say with the assembly, some of these parts are really small, the blades are extremely delicate, so take care if you're putting them together. I'm going to use blood red speed paints here for the base coat. I like this paint because, well, first, it's easy to put on, it covers really well, but it also has a nice, dark, rich red color to it, which is going to give us a great foundation to build upon. And when I'm putting down larger base coats like this, I just grab any old brush. You can see here that my brush is not one of my brand new ones. I like to use these up as much as I possibly can and get as much life out of these brushes as possible. Once it gets too bad, I'll either use it for dry brushing or if I need to mix paints or something like that. But I try to make them last as long as possible. And I have to say, I love painting these Marvel miniatures. I think that the sculpts on these are just fantastic. They're a lot of fun to paint. They come out so well at the end. I like to have them out and just display them on my shelf. They just look so good. I really enjoy them. Now I just hope that I get to play this game someday because I end up painting all these miniatures and then never getting to play the games. It's kind of funny when I think about it. And I'm also one of those people that, and it might be annoying, but I hate playing with unpainted miniatures. It's like it bothers me until I get them all painted up. Like I refuse to play the game until I get them all painted up. It's a weird craziness of myself. The base coat dries, I'm coming in with Mephiston Red, and I'm going to use this to paint on all of the highlights that I want for the red outfit that he has on. This color, it's a nice bright red, it covers really well, it's a good paint to use. And I'm highlighting a good portion of them, but I'm still letting some of the dark recesses show through for the shading. And actually I was really happy with how this ended up highlighting and still leaving that shadow underneath, and I think that this color red actually matched the box art really well. I was extremely happy with it. I'm going to come in with just regular black to do the black parts of his outfit. Luckily, Deadpool is actually a pretty simple figure to paint. He just mostly is red and black. So that actually made it very easy to just go ahead and put on the two colors, not worry a whole lot. And luckily, they're both kind of easy to highlight, so I didn't mind this one at all. And I'm trying to be careful here and watch how I'm painting on the black because I don't want it to go into the red at all. Because it's such a dark color, it's going to be harder to correct. If you do, it's not the end of the world. You can still make a correction on it or use a little bit of water to thin it down so that it's easier to cover up. But unlike how I usually paint, I'm trying to take my time here and be very careful. And I have to apologize for this one. It keeps going in and out of focus. And that's because of the way that the base is. It's with the rocket stream sort of holding him at different angles. It kept making the camera go in and out of focus a lot. So If I do go out of focus, you'll have to excuse me. I kind of get in the zone when I'm painting and I don't pay attention exactly to how it's showing up on camera. But I hope that this is good enough that it's still entertaining. Now to do some highlights on the black, I'm using Mechanicus Gray. And of course, I'm mixing this in with the black. I'm not using this straight out because it would be way too bright. I'm just mixing this in with a little bit of the black and to lighten it up. And I'm not going crazy with it. In fact, over this whole miniature, I didn't go crazy with the highlighting. It just didn't seem to fit in right with it. But I did enough that you can see it. I really like kind of having the subtle highlights. I don't really tend to do very bright and different highlights on my miniatures. I kind of go for the more subtle tones. I find that a little goes a long way, more so than something drastic. For the leather straps, I'm using leather brown. And again, with this, I'm being very careful. I'm just trying to keep it on the straps, not get it into the black or the red. Since we've already kind of did our highlighting on this guy, I don't want to go back and make a bunch of corrections. But I'm just taking my time, making sure to try to stay in the lines. And as I said, he's actually very easy to paint up. There's not a whole lot of little items or anything like that hanging on him, which some miniatures, you know, they got potions, watches, knives everywhere, and they kind of get annoying when there's too much on them. I hate to say that, like, because I do like a good detailed miniature, but sometimes it can be a little bit overwhelming. Where miniatures like this, they're just fun to paint. There's To give a little more depth to the leather straps, I'm going to use a wash of Earthshade over top of them. This is just to darken them up a little bit and not make, it helps them from looking so new and painted on, where this little bit of Earthshade, it sort of blends them into the rest of the miniature. And unlike how I usually paint miniatures, this is really the only parts that I'm using a wash on. Usually I paint the whole miniature with a wash, but in this instance, he didn't really seem to need it. You can see his muscles are showing through with just the highlighting and the shadows, so there was no need to do a wash all over him. Using plate mail metal here to hit a couple of the buckles on his chest, and also to paint the blades. Nothing fancy, just a couple little spots of this. And finally, we just need to pick out his eyes, and I'm just using White Scar White for this. And his eyes are just very small dots of white, but they look great against that black background. As I said, he's such a fun miniature to paint. He didn't take a whole lot of time, but I am thrilled with how he's coming out. So now we can get started on the base. I put down a base coat of black on the little rocket there, and then I'm just coming in with some Brain Beige to do a very heavy dry brush over the smoke. And with this, we're just going to keep building it up until it gets a little bit lighter. And one thing I notice now in editing is I wish that I would have fixed this mold line where it came together. I should have filled this in and then sanded it so that it made it more smooth and got rid of this joint here. It's something that at the end it wasn't a big deal, and I'm probably not going to go back and fix it anytime, but it's something to keep in mind that if you do put this together, it might be worth fixing that line there. For the flames of the rocket, I'm using this Ancient Honey Speed paints. This is one of the brightest and best coloring yellows that I have, and yellow is always such a pain to paint to begin with, at least in my opinion. I always struggle with it. So this gives me a nice bright yellow to just put down fairly. As you can see, as I move out away from the ignition part of the missile here, I'm just sort of like blending it in a little bit, just using a little bit of that yellow to just blend it into the white here to let it fade gradually into it. I used bronze here to paint the missile. I didn't go overboard with it. I just wanted to put down just a base coat of bronze on it and not paint anything fancy. Now we can actually start the base, and for this I'm just putting down a base coat of black, and then I'm going to highlight the grading with a little bit of silver and start painting on the bricks. Now I'm going to use burnt red here to do the bricks. I think it makes a great color for the bricks. And I actually came back later off camera and did a very light dry brush of gray over top of them just to give them an older brick look to them so that they didn't look so painted. And again, I had a very tough time here with the camera focusing, because as you can see, just the way that the miniature is built, where he's so tall because of the smoke and everything, I try to do my best to show you how the bricks are turning out, but it ended up being quite a challenge. Now I'm gonna use that same burnt red color to put down a base coat on the whoosh word that's gonna go on top of the smoke here. I primed it black so that it was nice and dark, because I want to go from a dark to a light color on the words, but I think it actually came out really well without. Now here is where an airbrush would come in really handy. You could get a very nice blending of the two colors, but since mine is packed away, I just wanted to use a brush, but I was still really happy with the results on this. For the top of the word now, I'm using this Mephiston red because it's a lot brighter. And as you can see, I'm not doing a dry brush, but I'm not exactly painting it on as well. It's almost like an in-between the two. And this took a little bit of time, a little bit of back and forth. I had to let it dry some, come back in, do another coat on it, and then do some lighter coats to blend the two together. But as I said, at the end of it, I was really happy with how the two colors blended, and to me it looked really good for using a brush to do this. For the final highlight, I use this Demigod Flames, and I'm mixing this in with a little bit of the Mephiston red as I use it. And again, I'm kind of doing the same thing where it's a very heavy not dry brush, but I'm just going back and forth and slowly blending all the layers together here and trying to really focus on the top here to give it a nice highlight, just to differentiate it some. And there you have it, he's all finished. And I tell you what, I couldn't be happier with how he came out. Usually I find something that I wish I would have done differently, but in this case, I love this guy. I'm a huge fan of the character to begin with, so that kind of helps a lot whenever you're painting him, but I'm just really happy with that he came out good as well. There's nothing worse than being a fan and then the miniature doesn't come out or it disappoints you, but I am so happy with him. I already put him on my shelf so that I can just kind of look at him. And that's what's funny is I paint these and I don't really get to play with them too much, but I do display them. Almost all of my miniatures, I display them in some way so that I can just kind of enjoy them, you know, just look at them and enjoy them. But with that, I hope that you enjoyed watching me paint, and I hope that this inspires you to get some of your miniatures painted up. And I want to say thanks for watching. I really appreciate everybody who even takes a couple of minutes to like and comment on the videos that I post. But I really appreciate everybody, and I just want to say thank you. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.